Cousin Alberta, courageous and faithful. My father was a Muslim. Mother passively followed his lead. My cousin Alberta was courageous in her determination to make certain that the minor children were raised in the Christian faith. Father was a valiant force to be reckoned with, a large, boisterous man. Cousin Alberta managed my father and had her way with him because she practically raised him for a better part of his life. He was abandoned by his sister when his parents were killed. Father rejected what he called the white man's religion, but he believed in family and would not cross Cousin Alberta. Cousin Alberta was a faithful leader. She would show up on time every Sunday morning. She got out of the car and came to the door. She didn't mind that we were not dressed in fancy clothes if we were ready to go to church when she arrived. There were always words spoken between Cousin Alberta and Father as she busily swept us out of the door. All 6 of us, including her husband, piled up in her old beat-up Chevy. We were never late either because our Cousin Alberta taught Sunday school class, read announcements, and sometimes led the congregation in song. She seemed to keep us and everybody else in line. Cousin Alberta was a leader as we lined up like little soldiers behind her. Cousin Alberta's hospitality was as big as her heart. She opened the doors of her home for Sunday dinners. Anyone who wanted to come was welcome. The amount of people that could fit in Cousin Alberta's house was a wonder to behold. She had to keep a close watch on the minor children because Father insisted that we only eat according to the rules of the Quran. That meant no pork. She forbade any of us to cross that line. At those suppers we laughed and played and looked at pictures and told stories. Cousin Alberta's lap was big enough for all us kids to sit on, and she was full of hugs. Once, when my mother was ill and in the hospital, Cousin Alberta helped to keep the house running smoothly. Like my father, she was strict and didn't abide any foolishness or sass. One day I told my brothers and sisters that I was going to stick a hat pin in her buttocks when she came to get us ready for school. When she arrived the next day, my siblings couldn't wait to tattle. That was my first and only experience with a switch. She hit me once and I passed out. I woke up with my father standing over me, angry at Cousin Alberta. I guess he figured he had taken enough whippings for all us kids. From that day on, my father forbade the use of switches as a form of punishment. For that prank, I received a switch scar on my backside, and thanks to Father, a scoop of vanilla ice cream. I was Father's favorite child. After all, I looked at him and possessed his temperament. I was often chastised for a temper and was told I was just like him. As a youngster, I wore the title like a badge of honor. Because of this, I was able to exploit my siblings and manipulate my father. He always took my side in family disputes. Cousin Alberta knew me well and saw my behavior as a personal challenge. We locked horns like 2 bulls. My memories of her are fond, and our disputes ended with me resting in her lap with her arms wrapped around me in love. One summer when I was a teenager, Cousin Alberta took a group of us on a mission trip to Oklahoma City. We were excited to take this trip. We took a cooler full of soda, fried chicken, and pound cake. We rode along laughing and singing hymns. There were boys and girls on the trip. We knew Cousin Alberta had her eye on us. Cousin James, her husband, was the other adult chaperone. He was a man, quiet, who always followed Cousin Alberta's lead when discipline was required. He would listen, raise an eyebrow, and grunt as a show of disapproval. As well as I can remember, Cousin James and I had never had a full-length conversation. We would pull over and stay at local churches for the night and be up on our way early the next morning. One night, we didn't stop. Cousin Alberta wanted to drive through the night because she wanted to arrive at our destination early the next morning. As we drove along, we heard a siren and the police pulled us over. The police shined his flashlight in the window. Cousin Alberta started to speak, and the police in a loud voice said, "Shut up and put your hands on the steering wheel." We were taught from early childhood not to speak to grown-ups with disrespect. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you, and please. When the police officer spoke to her in that manner, I felt afraid, hurt, angry, and powerless. My world changed that night. Cousin Alberta no longer seemed like the power of God to me. She appeared frail like my mother, under the hand of my father. One day when I was older, my mother and father got into an argument. He punched her in the face and broke her jaw. After that incident, I moved into my own apartment, a couple of blocks from my parents. My mother came and cried on my shoulder. She would never call the police. She considered his abuse a family matter. I was so angry, I went to confront him on his job. I was driving a four-door sedan. The car was new, and I was proud of being able to afford a new car. But I was so hurt and angry and distraught that I repeatedly ran my car into his pride and joy, his Cadillac. He used to sit in that Cadillac and listen to the radio. I ran into his car over and over until both cars were totaled. The police came and arrested me. Cousin Alberta came to the police station and talked to the chief. They gave me a ticket for restless driving and released me to the care of Cousin Alberta. On the way out, she turned to the chief and said, "This is a family matter, and our family will take care of it." Cousin Alberta was a strong female role model. She worked as a police officer in the high school. She was respected in the community and carried weight in neighborhood politics. When I told Cousin Alberta I was joining the military, she encouraged me. Cousin Alberta gave her time to many children in the neighborhood who became responsible, God-fearing adults. She made a difference in our lives and in the lives of many others.